Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about callback functions, what they are, why they matter, and how they help when writing code that needs to wait for something to finish, like loading data or waiting for a timer. A callback is essentially just a function that you give to another function and it gets called later. You can think of it like placing an order, such as, ordering a pizza. You give the pizza shop your phone number, and when the pizza's ready, they call you, and that phone call is going to be your callback. Now, in Visual Studio Code, I have an example to break down callbacks. And we see here two functions. And essentially what's happening is we have a function called say hello, and we pass it in as a callback to the function welcome user. And when welcome user runs down below, it calls say hello within itself using the username variable. And then we get back hello Alex in the console, as we can see. Now, why exactly would we do that instead of just running say hello and calling that instead? Well, essentially, JavaScript doesn't wait around. It's asynchronous, meaning it keeps running while waiting for things like network requests, file loads, or timers. And instead of freezing everything, JavaScript just essentially lets you say, hey, once this part is done, then run this function. And that's where callbacks come in. Now we have another example, in this case with setTimeout, to give you a better idea of how things are running with JavaScript. And if we run this, you'll notice that we get back start and end, and then we get this happens after 2 seconds. So we have two console.log statements, a set timeout, and then the console.log end. So we would expect normally from running code from top to bottom, it would be start, this happens after 2 seconds, and then end to run in order, but it doesn't always work like that in JavaScript, and that's why we're seeing it in this different order. Set timeout takes a callback function. This is a callback function, and it runs after approximately 2 seconds. And while that's processing, the rest of the code just keeps running. And so that's what we're seeing here. Now, to give you more of a practical idea of this, let's simulate this idea of loading data from a server, such as getting a user profile. Here we have a function, load user, with a callback, and then we are calling it here, load user, and we're passing in a callback here. And so what happens is we pass in a callback and a load user, and it runs once the data of getting that user is ready. And so if we run this, we see loading user and then got user Alex after those approximately 2 seconds here. This is simulating in the way of talking to a database or server, and you can see that here. Now, something that might be confusing with this, or I would like to make clear on, is that you might expect alternatively, let's say we did it this way, where we have a result. We want to store this in a variable, and then we want to console.log this result. What happens is if we do it this way, you will see, let's go ahead. You'll go ahead and see loading user, result is undefined, and then we see got user Alex. So essentially, we're asking for the result before it's even been received yet. And so because we don't have that data yet, pretend we're simulating getting information from a server. We don't have it yet. And so we're trying to give back a result that we don't have. And so that's why we're getting undefined. And so this is a common mistake to realize, and you want to, be sure to wait for the callback to be completed, and then have that run within the callback, this information. And that's what we're doing here. This is essentially like going back to that pizza analogy, it's like calling a pizza place and then checking your front door for the pizza. It's not there yet because they haven't even started to bake the pizza. And so that's that idea of trying to store this in a result variable and then console.logging it when you don't even have the data yet. And the reason this is better, not storing it, is because the data is now ready. and then we're console.logging. So wait until we have the data from load user, and then we're console.logging. We're doing that next step here. Now, one thing I'll mention is what can happen is because we're putting, result after result within each callback, you could end up with something called callback hell. As you can see here, you have a function, outer function, and then you keep nesting functions within to, do something, then do something else, and then do this, and then finally console.log done. And that's what happens is you get this callback hell. Now, in later videos, we'll touch on, going into promises and async await and how that resolves this and cleans this up a bit to avoid this callback hell. So stay tuned for that. But just wanted to, mention this, what happens when you start getting into callbacks and requesting things from a server. So let's recap what we've just learned. We learned that a callback is just a function passed to another function. It runs later after something finishes, like a timer or data load. You can't assign the result to a variable and use it immediately because that data is not ready yet, as we saw in the last example. And you can use the data inside the callback. That's the preferred method. That's everything for today. If the video helped you understand callbacks, feel free to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more to come. Thanks so much and have a great day.